Excellent. Many thanks, Professor Barnetto. Good afternoon, everyone. Many thanks for taking the time to me Friday afternoon. Really appreciate it. So I'm very pleased to present today my thesis, Selecting Financing Instrument in China with Perspective of German Multinational Corporations. Who am I? My name is Jun Hon. I originally come from China. I have been in Germany for more than 23 years now. I have over 18 years of the experience in the banking industry. And today I'm acting as senior coverage manager to manage the global relationship with 10 German large caps at the Citibank in Frankfurt, Germany. And thanks to my job, I have also excellent relationship with senior stakeholders in the German corporations. And given my background as Chinese, I'm also seen by many clients as expert on the Chinese financial market. The key question of my thesis is, how do German MNCs select financing instrument to support their business in China? So why is this topic so important? As you know, China is today the second largest economy behind the United States. In the recent years, the Chinese economy has even transformed itself from a global manufacturing base into an advanced economic focus more on technology, renewable energy, and e-mobility. Even the growth of the Chinese economy has been slowed down, primarily as a result of COVID-19 and also higher geopolitical risks. China remains as a key market for German MNCs. In the recent China Development Forum in this month, March 25, CEOs of the top German large cap like Robert Bosch, Siemens, Mercedes, BMW, Apple, and ThyssenKrupp have reconfirmed their strong commitment to China. CEO of Mercedes, for example, officially announced to continue investing an additional 2 billion euro for the next 2 years in the country. In parallel, German companies have faced challenges in identifying optimal financing channels to support their business. The Chinese market is considered as unique, with specific regulatory standards, lack of transparency, a high level of complexity. These challenges have been compounded by the recent disruptions, such as impact due to ongoing US tariffs and also increasing geopolitics risk between US and China. As German MNCs have to navigate this evolving landscape, the urgency to redefine their financing strategies and to adopt the future-ready solutions have become even more critical. Why is the research justified? On top of the fact that financing decision is a key priority for the German companies, academic research addressing the selection of financing instruments for German companies specifically to the Chinese market has so far received very little intention and attention, which is leaving the management with limited guidance in this critical area. Based on my own observations, the main reasons for limited availability of specific literatures are the dynamic and intransparent market environment in China, as well as the fact that companies' financing policies are normally not disclosed to the public domain. Therefore, this thesis is focused to explore the underlying factors influencing German MNCs' financing decisions in China. The key objective of the research is to support the German companies to optimize their capital structure, considering the complexity of regulation, geopolitical risks, and also intransparency in China. The central point of financing theory is the question of identifying the right financing instrument to achieve an optimal capital structure for a company. Modigliani and Miller advanced in 1958 the proposition that the value of the firm should not be influenced by a firm's financing and capital structure decision. However, more recent studies have shown that optimization of the financing sources can affect the value. In this thesis, I have analyzed the key capital structure theories, like a pecking order, trade-off, signaling, and market timing theories. In summary, these theories have provided framework and guidelines on the assessment of capital structure. The effectiveness of the theories in the practice is, however, highly subjective and dependent on the individuals who have different understanding and judgment of each factor to be implemented. While the existing theories on capital structure do provide a valuable starting point, they seem not to be fully addressing the complexities involved in defining an optimal financing structure for companies in China. Against this background, a deeper and qualitative research is required to reflect the unique challenges of the Chinese market. Also, I have analyzed a detailed and fact-based overview about the regulatory framework and market standards for each of the financing instruments available for multinational corporations in country, China. In summary, I think MNCs have theoretically plenty of financing tools to support their local business in China. However, the finance instruments cannot be selected according to capital structure theories. For example, companies have to always start with equity injection for the investment due to local regulation, which is not in line with the pecking order and market timing theories. And presenting these financing instruments and their regulatory constraints is necessary to validate the financing capital structure theories within China's economic environment, but also to assess risk, cost, and strategic trade-off for German large companies based on real financing options. So taking the former into the consideration, this thesis was focused on a qualitative methodology based on inductive approach. So why inductive? Given the limited availability of specific literature on German companies' financing decision in China, an inductive approach seems to be more appropriate because it allows for generation of new insights based on empirical analysis and observation. Why qualitative? The qualitative analysis is not driven by hypotheses due to the high complexity and intransparency of Chinese financial markets. A quantitative study using questionnaire or databases would not justify the possible outcome of the analysis, given the lack of prior knowledge of theoretical process in the literature. Therefore, in order to answer the research question holistically and also in the necessary deep, the approach of conducting 6 interviews with senior manager of large German companies and financing experts of leading international financial institutions appear to be a logical way as step 1. This has also provided an opportunity to address and understand the key factors and process which are critical for the financing decisions. As step 2, I have also analyzed 2 case studies of large German MNCs financing selection in China. These 2 case studies are considered as benchmark to independently validate the key financing considerations for German companies in China. Because the German corporates usually don't make insight about their financing policy available to third parties, it also required a certain level of discretion. And given my professional experience with more than 18 years in the financial industry, I had the opportunity to make an objective observation on the financing selection and consideration for these two German MNCs in China. This slide is presenting the data analysis approach for interviews. I have selected the semi-structured interview for analysis because the main categories of the research question can be summarized in the interview guide, which is used to run the interviews as comprehensive as possible. In this context, all interviews took place in 2023 after COVID-19, which additionally considered the impact of the financing decision due to external factors like geopolitical conflict and also fundamental change in interest rate policies of China and Europe. Also, selecting the right interview partners requires careful consideration in order to address the research question effectively. For the purpose of conducting this study, the interview partners are individuals with long-standing corporate financing background, as well as the China-specific know-how at senior management level. In addition to interviews, case studies of BASF and the BMW have been reviewed in detail. Assessment of these both meaningful case studies was able to address and to understand the key factors for financing decision, which then supported to independently validate the result of my interview analysis. The data of case studies was collected with documentation and direct observation for a time frame for a couple of months. The combination of the documentation and direct observation has created a more robust and reliable data collection process for this thesis. So what are the key findings? After assessing the key findings from interviews and case studies, I have identified 5 important key considerations that are critical for financing decisions in China. All 5 key findings were largely consistent among the both approach. Number 1, the complex and intransparent regulatory requirements do limit the flexibility of selection of financing instruments in China. Number 2, increasing geopolitical risk is considered today as an important factor influencing the financing decision in China by German companies. Number 3, intercompany loan was considered in the past as the main source of debt financing that has been increasingly replaced by the local onshore external debt. Accordingly, funding cost of the local financing instrument becomes now more efficient, cost efficient for the company. Number 4, the companies exploring diversified funding tools send a strong market signal to improve their reputation in China. Last but not least, the financing flexibility is strategically very important. The locally produced and locally financed model do have advantages. There has been some literature available with focus on key factors influencing companies' financing decisions. One of the representative literatures is the Frictal framework, which was published by Kester and Hoover in 2005. This model summarized the key factors to be considered when evaluating investment decisions. The key factors are flexibility, risk, income, control, timing, and others. The Frictal model has been used in recent financial education analysis. However, while the Frictal is useful in identifying the factors relevant to financing decisions, the process of evaluating the factors is subjective and situational. And considering the time, I would not deep dive the Frictal model in today's discussion. Now the question is, does Frictal also apply to China? The answer is no. Based on the key findings of the qualitative analysis in my thesis, I have presented an adaptive model of key factors which are critical for selection of financing instruments in China for the German MNCs. The model starts with financial regulation as central point, because the other factors like cost of funding, risk management, financial flexibility, and reputation are highly dependent on the local regulation. In this context, I would like to highlight the importance of financial flexibility and the risk management. If financial flows are blocked or restricted between Europe and China due to potential escalation of geopolitical risk, the German MNCs operating in China would face multiple financial risks, including the profit repatriation restrictions, blocked trade payments, and currency conversion limitations. Therefore, I would recommend German companies to proactively develop the risk mitigation strategies and also to maintain the financial flexibility in order to avoid the potential financial disruption. These 5 key factors, in my view, can be considered as a China-specific Pareto framework to answer my research question, how the German MNC select the financing instrument to support their business in China. In addition, I have also created a financing decision process tree for German companies in China. Now, please allow me to use a concrete example to walk you through these 4 steps. As mentioned in the thesis, BASF announced in 2022 to build a new integrated chemical site in China, and the total investment amount until 2030 is expected to become 10 billion euros. At step 1, BASF defined the financing requirement, which is the 10 billion over the time of the period. At step 2, BASF had to define the required equity portion related to the total investment in China. According to BASF's own disclosure, the investment is financed with a combination of around 20% equity and 80% debt. As you know, in general, equity financing is considered as an expensive funding source for companies. At step 3, BASF analyzed the key factors on financing decision, including regulation, cost of funding, risk management, flexibility, and reputation. And based on the defined key factors, BASF has been now implementing at step 4, a mix of various financing instruments, including the internal offshore options like equity and intercompany loan from Germany to China, as well as the onshore external options like bank term loan of 5 billion euro, which BASF put in place in 2024, as well as the Panda bond issuance, in order to send a strong signal to Chinese market for their commitment. In summary, BASF preference was to minimize the amount of equity portion and also to maximize at the same time the amount of external onshore debt financing in local currency. Also, it is key for BASF to keep the maximum flexibility on corporate financing. I think this research makes several contributions. Academically, it fills a critical gap by addressing the underexplored area of financing strategies specific to German companies in China, laying the groundwork for future studies in the domain. Particularly, it delivers a highly relevant tool for senior decision makers to enhance the effectiveness and resilience of their financing strategies in China. According to the empirical analysis in my thesis, selection of onshore financing instrument in China is recommended at the moment. As a conclusion, the thesis has provided a detailed qualitative analysis of financing strategies for German companies in China. The key outcomes have also offered practical insight for the key decision makers of the company. On top of that, I think future research might be encouraged to explore this insight to the companies from different countries or operating within diverse economic settings. Therefore, this DBA thesis has not only advanced the academic understanding, but also directly supported management in making their financing decisions informed, strategic, and impactful. As a result of that, the research question has been answered. That was my defense presentation. Thanks a lot for your attention. And now I'm happy to take your comments and questions. Thanks again.